Hi, everybody. Yesterday, I made a video about how I was sick of the email scandals that are being talked about in the media all the time about Hillary Clinton. But I brought up Jill Stein, which is the Green Party um, presidential candidate. And one of the things that she's talking about, which I believe in strongly, is the forgiveness of college debt. And if you read what her beliefs are on the issues, Green Party presidential nominee, um, she says another travesty we can fix with the stroke of a pen is the crisis of student debt. Currently, 43 million current and former students are locked in debt they can't repay in the low wage income. Not only can they not repay it, you can't even bankruptcy it away because the laws have been were established. I can't remember quite a few years ago with the Bankruptcy Reform Act, some of these politicians were involved. I can't remember. I think maybe Joe Biden was involved in that, which means it's perpetual debt. It's lifetime debt. You never get rid of it. That's anti-biblical. That's anti-common law, and that's not even right morally. So the fact that you cannot get rid of a debt and you can hang somebody with a debt for the rest of their lives forever is unprecedented in the history of our common law and dating back to the year of Jubilee in the Bible. So this is crazy. Which is here for the can't even talk now, I'm upset. Which is here for the foreseeable future. It's unconscionable, and it is unconscionable, to allow our younger generation to be victims of this predatory debt. Average debt for the class of 2015 is over $35,000 per student, and 70% are affected. And that's correct. And she goes on about how she's going to do it. She's going to do it with some sort of quantitative easing, which I say you don't even need to do that. All you need to do is free up these kids so they can do something. You're going to lose an entire generation if they don't get rid of this debt, because they're in debt 70%. They're already trying to service debt without even having an opportunity to go out and find a job and find some way to make an income in this economy. And now you're just going to get it to the point where they'll never pay it off, never pay the interest. They'll never pay the debt. They're going to default on it. And it's just going to collapse our entire economic structure with all this debt that nobody can ever pay off. You need to wipe it away and start over again. That was the thinking behind the banks. You cannot continue to have this go on. And it is crazy. It is crazy that the colleges are allowed to. This all starts with the guaranteed student loan, where the government guarantees the student loan so the kids can go to school. And the theory is if somebody gets educated, they're going to be more productive in our society. But if you have jobs for them to get in after college and they have a place to go and service that debt, that makes sense. But in today's world, you don't have that. Kids have to be more creative. They have to do things more on their own. They have to be more uh, um, thinking out of the box to do something. And that takes a little bit of time to come up with some way of figuring out how to make yourself valuable to this economy or to people that need your services or need whatever you could do for them. And you just can't do it when you're already $35,000 in debt and paying interest on this. There's no way you're going to get out of this. It's impossible. And you just have people with bad credit that can't buy anything, which hurts our economy. You got people that are paying interest that don't have any money to pay rent, buy homes, buy cars, buy appliances, get married, have a family. It's completely disruptive for our whole society to have a whole generation of people so heavily in debt that they can't do anything. And that's what's going on right now. It's got to be forgiven. And the idea that anybody wouldn't forgive this is insanity. It's insanity. It's not communist to think that somebody should forgive this debt. It's not, some sort of these people are so far off to the left that, somebody has to pay it. No, it has to be forgiven. There's a time where you just have to say it's over with and you can't get it out of people. One of the things Warren Buffett said, which I thought was really classic for Warren Buffett, he said the reason he's always been able to prosper in his life is because he's always been able to stay out of debt. And he was able to have a paper route and do a few things when he was a kid and always had money ahead. So he never was in a position where he was fighting from behind. He always had money to pay for things as he goes. And if you don't have that kind of a situation in your life, you will never prosper because you're always trying to play catch up. And that's what's going on with these kids in debt, playing catch up. The other thing that she says is we must make public education free, which I agree. It pays for itself by sevenfold margin We had the GI Bill, World War II, and it's the right thing to do. Just as high school education was essentially essential for young people, economic security in the 20th century, higher education is essential now in the 21st, and it should be provided for free as well. I completely agree. I completely agree. You need to make colleges free. These colleges don't need to be these flush with cash institutions where they've got hundreds of millions of dollars in the bank and continue to get all this um, and raise tuition prices all when you get out, so you don't have anywhere to go with it. Get yourself a college education. Where do you go with it? So this is a real huge problem. This, Jill Stein's ready to come out and put it on the table and talk about it. So was Bernie Sanders, and that's why people loved him. And they know this is what's got to happen. And if this does not take place, this whole economy is going to collapse around all these kids, or all these young generation kids that can't pay for the student loans, they can't get themselves out of debt, and they can't get started. And if you can't get started, you're never going to be prosperous, and you're never even going to be a person that can have an impact on their time, when they're growing up, when they're like I say, buying houses, doing stuff. They're never going to be able to do it. You need to do it. You need to cut the losses and let it go, because it's never going to happen. They're never going to. 70% are not going to pay $35,000 and interest and all the other stuff that goes along with it. So it's just never going to happen. So you need to make college free, and you need to forgive all student loans. That's why I think Jill Stein has a good plan, and I think people should start listening to her. I appreciate you listening.